These are the keywords and important points of Vision IAS December 2020 Current Affair Magazine. Use it to summarize and learn. 4 Security. 4.1 Police Reforms. Why News. Key data on police organizations. Human resource strength. Vacancies. Women in police. Scheduled castes, SCS/scheduled tribes, STS/OBCs representation. Data suggests a need for overhauling Indian police because of issues like lack of accountability, overburdened police force, mismatch in constabulary skill set and responsibilities. Various Committee on Police Reforms. Committee. Year. Notes. National Police Commission, NPC. Ribeiro Committee. Padmanabhaya Committee. Mollymath Committee. Police Act Drafting. Committee 1. Supreme Court. Directives. 2nd Administrative Reforms. Justice Thomas Committee. Supreme Court. Directives. About Bureau of Police Research and Development, BPRND. BPRND, under Ministry of Home Affairs. Poor service conditions. Need to separate law and order from investigation. Improving police public relations. Newer threats. Lack of women representation. Shortage of weaponry. Suggested reforms areas can be boosting capacity and infrastructure. Increase in the number of police personnel. Improvement in recruitment and training. Improvement in service conditions. Improving the infrastructure. Legislative reforms. Enactment of the Organized Crimes Act. Single Police Act for the country. Moving police to the concurrent list. Declaration of federal crimes. Commissionerate system for large areas. Administrative reforms. Separation of investigation from law and order. Specialized wings for social and cyber crimes. Restricting the police to core functions. Setting up authorities as directed by the Supreme Court. 4.2 National Security Directive on the Telecom Sector. Why News. National Security Directive on the Telecom Sector. Background. Amid global security concerns raised against Chinese equipment maker Huawei. India has restricted investments from Huawei. India has also banned. About National Security Directive on the Telecom Sector. India's first and biggest framework to protect itself from cyber attacks. National Security Committee on Telecom, NSCT, headed by the Deputy National Security Advisor. Release the names of the firms. The criteria of the Department of Telecommunications Preferential Market Access, PMA, scheme. PMA scheme. New devices have to mandatorily procure from trusted sources. Department of Telecom will make appropriate modifications in the license conditions. Why there is need to have telecom security. Cybersecurity. Only 50% of Indian companies have their security strategy for cloud computing. G. National security. About telecom industry in India. World's second largest telecommunications market. World's second largest market in terms of total internet users. Next 5 years, rise in mobile phone penetration and decline in data. Cost will add 500 million new internet users. Dubious suppliers. Realizing self-reliance, Atmanirbhar Bharat mission. Ways to address challenges in telecom security. Makes price of telecom equipment higher or uncompetitive. Technological advancement. S. Strategy and approach. Threat detection. Prevention measures. Incident response methods. 5 Environment. 5.1 India's climate performance. Why News. Climate Change Performance Index, CCPI. Highlights of CCPI. First 3 ranks of the overall ranking remained empty. Why? Only the EU as a whole, along with the UK and India, rank among high performers. Renewable energy continues to expand. D. Several countries updated their NDC. S. Impact of COVID-19. GHG emissions. Energy use. India's rank in G. GHG emission and climate policy. Renewable energy. Analysis of India's performance in its climate action. Intended nationally determined contribution, INDC. Achievements. On track to achieve and even exceed Paris Agreement targets. Degree. Initiatives on the global stag. E. International Solar Alliance and Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. E. Category. India's rank. GHG emission. Renewable energy. Energy use. Climate policy. Climate Change Performance Index, CCPI. German Watch, New. Climate Institute and the Climate Action Network. K. 2015 Paris Agreement. 57 countries and of the European Union, EU. GHG emission 40%. Renewable energy, 20%. Energy use 20%. Climate policy 20%. Setting other ambitious targets. Improvement in energy efficiency. Concerns. Coal dependency. Rising emissions from agricultural sector. Declining clean energy investment. Reduction in some targets. 5.2 Emissions Gap Report 2020. Why News. Key findings. GHG emissions continue to increase. E. Current NDCs remain seriously inadequate to achieve the climate goals of the Paris Agreement. Countries committing to net zero emissions goal. S. Consumption-based emission. S. Inequity in emission. S. Suggested steps to reduce emission gap. Improving energy efficiency of housing. Post-pandemic green recovery. International Solar Alliance, ISA. Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. CDRI. Emissions Gap Report. United Nations Environment Program, UNEP. Emissions Gap. Lifestyle Change. S. 5.3 Indoor Air Pollution. Why News. Key findings. 167 million deaths were attributable to air pollution. In India in 2019. 36.5%, 061 million deaths, were caused due to the IAP. The death rate due to IAP decreased by 64.2% from 1990 to 2019. Highest in the less developed states of India. About IAP. IAP is the degradation of indoor air quality by harmful chemicals and other material. S. Also reflects Outdoor air quality and pollution. N. Sources of IAP. Biomass and cook stoves. Impact of indoor air pollution. On health. H. On women, aged and young children. N. On overall productivity. On mortality. Y. Severity. To save people from the ill effects of IAP, the central government has launched 2 schemes. Untitled Chapter. Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana. Retrofit of air conditioning to improve indoor air quality for safety and efficiency, RAISE. In September 2010, the UN Foundation launched the Global Alliance for Clean Cook Stoves. Challenges in tackling IAP. Ensuring the sustained adoption and usage of clean cooking tech. Behavioral changes due to global warming. Marginalization of IAP in public discourse. E. Way ahead. Allocate sufficient long-term funding. Public awareness about the clean fuel. Promoting solar cookers. Green roofs. Conclusion. 5.4 Ammonia pollution. Why news? About ammonia. Colorless, highly reactive and soluble alkaline gas. Prominent constituent of the nitrogen cycle. Sources of emissions. Agriculture, including animal husbandry and NH3-based fertilizer. Applications. Decomposition of organic waste, forest fires, animal and human waste. Stored in liquid form under high pressure. Naturally present in the body. Uses. Industrial chemical in the production. Manufacturing of fertilizers. How ammonia pollution affects the environment and humans. Which creates manifold challenges as given below. Climate change. Air pollution. Water pollution. Level of ammonia in Yamuna water was found at more than 1.8 parts per million, ppm. Ecosystem damage. E.g. Increase in nitrogen-loving species. Adverse health effects. Ammonium hydroxide, which is very caustic and disrupts the cell membrane lipids, ultimately leading to cellular destruction. Ammonium salts which affect human breathing as well cause diseases like pneumonia and asthma. A. What should be done to check ammonia pollution? Laws and guidelines. Policy decisions. Technology. Animal dietary management. 5.5 Community forest rights. Why news? Fresh guidelines for community forest rights, CFR, and habitat rights. More about news. To examine and recommend. Guidelines for management and governance of CFR. Drafting guidelines to manage habitat rights. Review the habitat rights of particularly vulnerable tribal groups, PVTGs. About community forest rights. Scheduled tribes and other traditional forest dwellers, Recognition of Forest Rights, Act, 2006 or Forest Rights Act, FRA, 2006. FRA 2006. FRA 2006. Community rights defined are. Community rights such as NISTAR. Right of ownership, access to collect, use, and dispose of minor forest produce. Other community rights of uses or entitlements such as fish and other products of water bodies. Rights including community tenures of habitat and habitation. Rights of settlement and conversion of all forest villages. Right to protect, regenerate, or conserve or manage any state law or laws of any autonomous district council or autonomous regional council. Right of access to biodiversity and community right to intellectual property. Any other traditional right customarily. FRA empowers Gram Sabha. Draft guidelines for CFR recently released aim to guide and empower the Gram Sabhas. Draft guidelines for CFR. Community Forest Resource Management Committee, CFRMC. Provides financial independence of the Gram Sabha through a fund. Further empowerment of Gram Sabhas to integrate the committees for the protection of wildlife, forest, and biodiversity. Be empowered to carry out the powers and authority. File complaint before the state level monitoring committee. SLMC. Make rules and issue appropriate directions for governance and conservation of CFR. Approve and modify CFR. Conservation and management. PLA. N. Why these rights are important. Forest conservation, management, and governance. Ensuring livelihood security. Influencing decision-making and democratic decentralization. Trust building. Provide legal recognition. Issue with community forest rights. Poor demarcation of boundaries. Non-recognition of claims. Lack of ownership. P. Ways to strengthen community forest rights. Technology and resources. Habitat rights. Granted to the particularly vulnerable tribal groups, PVT. G. Include community tenures of habitat and habitation. FRA isn't clear on the nature of the right. CFR are more important for fulfilling the material needs of the community. S. While habitat right include the entirety of the spiritual connection. Draft guidelines for habitat rights. Habitat as places where tribal and other traditional forest dwellers have ancient connections in spiritual, cultural, social. Bundle of rights comprising of above connections. Some of habitat rights include right to perform all customary religious, right to protect and conserve the natural entities, right to practice traditional cultivation systems. Rights exclude any traditional right of hunting or trapping, or extracting a part of the body. Review and updation. Market access. Creating awareness. 5.6 Overcoming water challenges in agriculture. Why news? State of food and agriculture, 2020. Key findings. 3.2 billion people live in agricultural areas. Available fresh water resources per person has declined. Socio-economic development contributes to shifting of diets towards more water-intensive foods, exacerbating inequalities in access to water. How severe is water scarcity problem in India? Why agriculture holds the key to tackling water scarcity in India? Agricultural irrigation accounts for 90% of India's freshwater withdrawals, global average being 70%. Groundwater depletion increased by as much as 23%. India's annual agricultural water withdrawal is the highest in the world. Larger area under irrigation than India, China withdraws much less water for agricultural purposes. What has made Indian agriculture practices water inefficient? Water-intensive crops. Unintended consequences of government policies that changed the cropping pattern for worse. Green revolution led to marginalization of water-efficient crops. Rice and sugarcane are more suitable for eastern states. Degradation of soil in green revolution belt reduced the water productivity. Traditional irrigation practices. Poor conservation of water. What is being done by the government to overcome water challenges in agriculture? Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchayi Yojana, PMKSY. Two of its components ensure high water use efficiency of irrigation projects. Per drop more crop, PMKSY PDMC. Watershed Development Component of PMKSY, WDC PMKSY. Micro Irrigation Fund. Jal Shakti Abhiyan Campaign for Water Conservation and Water Security. Crop Diversification/Promotion of Millets. Nutri Cereals. R600 crore scheme to increase the area. Production and yield of Nutri Cereals. Minimum support price, MSP, on millets was hiked. Plan for increasing export of millet and millet products for a period 5 years. How government's efforts for overcoming water challenges could be made more effective. Climate-sensitive agricultural policies. The spread of drip and sprinkler irrigation systems should be increased rapidly. Promotion of new agronomic practices. Conclusion. 5.70 Liquid Discharge, ZLD. About ZLD. Water treatment process. Wastewater treatment technologies for treating water up to the level that can be reused inside the same company. A typical ZLD system comprises of the following components. Pretreatment, physiochemical and biological. Reverse osmosis, membrane processes. Water flows from the more concentrated side. Evaporator and crystallizer, thermal process. ZLD helps industries by protecting the public health, reducing the water stress, ensure production cost efficiency by recovering valuable products. Challenges in adopting ZLD system for effluent management. ZLD generates hazardous solid wastes. Consume a large amount of energy. Certain industries like semiconductors cannot reuse treated wastewater. Therefore, following alternatives can also be considered for sustainable management of industrial effluent. Discharge. Minimal liquid discharge, MLD. Deep well injection. User-specific norms. Discharge the effluents after primary and secondary treatment into the sea. Hybrid of ZLD and common effluent treatment plants, CETPs. Conclusion. 5.8 Mount Everest grows to new height. Wine News. Certified the elevation of Mount Everest at 8,848.86 meters. Above sea level 86 centimeters higher than what was recognized since 1954. About Mount Everest. Mean sea level as the base. As measured from the Earth's core, Ecuador's Mount Chimborazo is the world's highest. Measuring from the foot of the mountain to the peak, Hawaii's Mauna Kea is the tallest. Total height is 10,210 meters. Located between Nepal and Tibet. Formed from a tectonic smash-up between the Indian and Eurasian tectonic plates. 200 million years ago. Nearly 30 feet. Tethys Ocean existed between India and Eurasia. Dense oceanic crust. Eurasian continental plate. Sandy layer formed rocks and accumulated on the mountainous peaks. The crust thickened to form the Himalayan mountain range. Collision continues to this day, which is, in part, why Everest's altitude is always changing. Creeps northward a couple inches each year. Roughly 10 millimeters a year in the northwestern sections of the range, and around a millimeter a year at Everest. However, erosion and earthquakes work against their upward progression. Named after George Everest, a former Surveyor General of India. Ever recorded people to climb Everest were Edmund Hillary. Tibetan guide Tenzing Norgay. 6 Science and Technology. 6.1 Space-based remote sensing. Wine News. About remote sensing. Process of detecting and monitoring the physical characteristics of an area/object. Some examples are cameras on satellites and airplanes, sonar systems on ships, ability to detect changes, observations at different resolutions. Space-based remote sensing. Spectral, spatial, temporal, and polarization signatures are major characteristics. Enable unfolding of knowledge. Based solution. S. How the space-based remote sensing can enhance India's development. Natural resources. Disaster management. Agriculture and soil. About space remote sensing policy, 2020, Space RS policy, 2020. Encouraging various stakeholders in the country to actively participate in space-based remote sensing activities. Promote Indian industries. Enable easy access to space-based remote sensing data. Concentrate on realization of space-based remote sensing systems. Provide a timely and responsive regulatory environment. Remote Sensing Data Policy, RSDP, 2011, is said to be more restrictive and provides less opportunities. Self-reliance, Atmanirbhar, knowledge, exploration, competitiveness and conducive environment. Other methods of remote sensing. Light detection and ranging, LIDAR. Radio detection and ranging, radar. Sound navigation ranging, sonar. Hyperspectral imaging, SHI. Rural and urban development. Weather and climate. Governance. What challenges are being faced in space-based remote sensing? Lack of financial resources. Technology and skills gaps. Data challenges. Space debris. Risks and security concerns. How to address challenges in space-based remote sensing. Creating investment opportunities. Use of emerging technologies. Regulations and guidelines. 6.2 Prime Minister Wi-Fi Access Network Interface, PMWANI. Wine News. About PMWANI. Aims to elevate wireless internet connectivity. PMWANI ecosystem will be operated by different players. Set up by the PDOs to provide Wi-Fi service through the PDOs. Nationwide network of public Wi-Fi hotspot. S. PDOs after the Public Call Office, PCO. Concept. Develop an app to register users and discover the WANI-compliant Wi-Fi hotspots. Will also be able to verify a customer's credit card details. Central Registry. Shall make necessary provisions for storage of user data for 1 year. User data privacy will be ensured by app providers and PDOA. S. No license fee for providing broadband internet through these public Wi-Fi networks. Significance of public Wi-Fi. Cost effective. Easier to scale than adding new mobile tower. S. Wi-Fi uses free unlicensed spectrum. Decongest telecom networks. Capacity utilization. Boost GDP. Bridge rural urban divide. No license fee for providing broadband internet services. Employment opportunity. Fiscal saving. Challenges. Public Wi-Fi accessibility are prone to security attacks. Misused for unauthorized access. Financial status of telecom service provider. What is Wi-Fi? Wireless networking technology. Wireless LAN, local area network. These devices and many more to exchange information with one another, creating a network. Radio signals, antenna, and router. Mobile data works essentially the same way as Wi-Fi. Bluetooth and Wi-Fi are used for providing wireless communication. Bluetooth is actually accustomed to connect short-range devices for sharing information, whereas Wi-Fi is used for providing high-speed web access or internet range. Bluetooth limits the number of devices that can connect. Lack of supporting infrastructure. Customers are facing the issue of manual action for periodic login to Wi-Fi networks. Right-of-way, row, issues. Delay in deployment of optical fiber cables. Underground. Mobile towers, overground, infrastructure. Way forward. Wi-Fi hotspots deployment as per India's population. User data safe handling protocol with respect to storage, sharing, encryption, and grievance. Redressal must be well documented and enforced. Consumer education and hand-holding has to be part of the overall deployment strategy. Seamless Wi-Fi roaming. 6.3 Narrowband Internet of Things. Why news? More about news. To provide affordable, innovative telecom services and products across customer segments. India will now have access to a ubiquitous fabric of connectivity for millions. Connect with BSNL satellite ground infrastructure and provide PAN India coverage. Bringing indigenous IoT connectivity to India's core sectors. About Narrowband Internet of Things, NB-IoT. Wireless communication. Standard for the Internet of Things, IoT. Enables to connect devices that need small amounts of data. Coexist with 2G, 3G, and 4G mobile networks. Doesn't operate in the licensed LTE construct. NB-IoT has various applications. Internet of Things, or IoT. Benefits of NB-IoT. Power efficiency. Cost savings. Secure and reliable. Connectivity. Reliability. Wider deployment. 6.4 Health data. Why news? Health Data Management Policy, HDMP. National Digital Health Mission, NDHM. National Digital Health Mission, NDHM. Creating digital health records. Creating and maintaining registries for healthcare professionals and health facility. S. Health Data Management Policy. NDHM's guiding principle of security and privacy. By design. N. What is health data and why is appropriate handling and regulation is important? Health data can be broadly considered as health status. S. Personal choice about selecting a treatment. T. Health security or policy number. Treatment reports. Causes of death. Parameters regarding health and wellness. Historical healthcare background. Following issues. Issue of privacy and sensitive nature of data. Individual losing the control over data. Misused for surveillance or for corporate interests. Poor record keeping and maintenance of health data. Generation of large volumes of personal health data. Data-based approaches forced by the outbreak of COVID-19. Current status of health data ecosystem in India. Digital Information Security in Healthcare Act in 2018. National Health Management Information System, HMIS. National Health Portal. Health data challenges prevalent in India. Fragmented data. Multiple entities in healthcare delivery. Data remains in silos due to lack of interoperability. Absence of an overall policy. Creation of multiple data handling entities. Salient features of health data management policy. Creating a standard for privacy protection and storage of data. Ensure compliance with relevant and applicable laws, rules, and regulations. Federated structure with interoperability. Allows interoperability between independent and decentralized information system. S. Voluntary participation. Issued a health ID. Health ID of the individual may be verified by the use of Aadhaar. Network connecting each hospital and laboratory. Increase the pan-India portability of the health data. Aggregated data which could be used for research and clinical purposes. Control of data with the individual. Consent manager. Integration with Ayushman Bharat. Policy will be dynamic in nature. Enabling document before complete rollout of the National Digital Health Mission. Potential challenges in implementation of the policy. Absence of a personal data protection, PDP, bill. Poor reliability and inconsistencies in data. Poor digital literacy. Absence of clear accountability mechanisms for prevention from commercial usage. Right to be forgotten. Way forward. Balance. Personal privacy. Providing transparency. Accountability. Empowerment of the individual is at the heart. 6.5 Public health surveillance in India. Why news? More on news. Predictive, responsive, integrated, and tiered. Global leadership in managing events that constitute a public health emergency. Need for a public health surveillance system. Predicting/forecasting and preparedness for epidemic outbreaks. Guiding prevention and health promotion strategy. S. Responding to outbreaks and guiding future programs of disease control. L. Re-emerging and new communicable disease. S. Increasing rates of non-communicable diseases and acute and chronic condition. S. Antimicrobial resistance, AMR. Current public health surveillance framework in India. Integrated Disease Surveillance Project, IDSP. Integrated Health Information Platform, IHIP, within the IDSP program. Digital web-based open platform that captures individualized data. Indian Council of Medical Research, ICMR. Large network of 130 and laboratories. Early health warning system. Ministry of Earth Sciences. Relationship between weather changes and disease incidents. Outbreaks of vector-borne diseases. Issues in the current surveillance system in India. Surveillance is not comprehensive. Surveillance functions in vertical silos of programs and institutions. Private sector involvement in surveillance is limited. Inadequate linkage of morbidity with mortality data. Limited use of digital, social and print media in surveillance. Limited focus on non-communicable disease surveillance. Other issues. Inconsistent recruitment. Lack of in-house expertise for training in health surveillance. Recommendations given by the aforementioned document. Developing a governance ecosystem for surveillance. E. Introducing data sharing mechanisms. Using data analytics. Information for action. Streamline data sharing, analysis, dissemination, and use for action. Unique Health Identifier, UHID, which is the primary source of data. Align with Ayushman Bharat. Plant, animal, and environmental surveillance in a One Health approach. Raise the profile of public health surveillance. Create/strengthen an independent health informatics institute. Define the scope of surveillance into broad categories of diseases/condition. S. Use a WHO stepwise approach to include NCD surveillance. Strengthen laboratory infrastructure, referral networks, and community-based surveillance. 6.6 Non-communicable diseases. Why in news? Global Health Estimates, GHE, released by World Health Organization. More in news. Key findings of GHE 2019 report. 7 of the world's top 10 causes of death. Lifespans have increased over the years. Non-communicable diseases. Medical conditions or diseases that are not caused by infectious agents. Main types of NCDs are factors influencing the NCDs. Genetic factor. Behavioral factor. S. Socioeconomic factors. Urbanization and urban development policy. Cultural norms. Global measures to control NCDs. Recognized as a major global challenge in the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Global Action Plan for the Prevention and Control of NCDs 2013-202. 0. Global targets that have the greatest impact on global NCD. Address prevention and management of NCD. S. India is the first country to develop specific national targets. Measures taken by India to control NCDs. National Program for Prevention and Control of Cancer, Diabetes, Cardiovascular Diseases, and Stroke, NPCDCS, was launched in 2010. Ayushman Bharat, which would help to deal with NCDs. Food Safety and Standards Authority of India. FSI has launched Eat Right India movement. Mass media. Campaign Heart Attack Rewind. Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana scheme. Way forward. Monitoring progress and trends of NCDs. Investing in better management of NCDs is critical. L. Primary healthcare approach to strengthen early detection and timely treatment. T. Universal access to essential NCD interventions. Some programs to control NCDs. Comprehensive approach is needed. 6.7 mRNA vaccine. Why in news? About mRNA vaccine. New type of vaccine to protect against infectious diseases. Work by introducing an mRNA sequence, the molecule which tells cells what to build, which is coded for a disease specific antigen. N. Messenger RNAs, mRNA, are one of the types of RNA. mRNA vaccines teach our cells how to make a protein. N. mRNA vaccines can be delivered using a number of methods. Different types of mRNA vaccine. Benefits of RNA vaccines. Safe and non-infectious. Efficacy. Production. Deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA, and ribonucleic acid, RNA. Types of nucleic acids. 3 types of RNA. Messenger RNA, mRNA. Transfer RNA, tRNA. Ribosomal RNA, rRNA. Ribonucleic acid, RNA. Deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA. Converts the genetic information contained within DNA. Replicates and stores genetic information. RNA only has one strand. DNA consists of 2 strands. RNA contains ribose sugar molecules. The sugar in DNA is deoxyribose. RNA forms in the nucleolus. DNA is found in the nucleus. RNA is more resistant. Conventional vaccines. Gene-based vaccines. Live attenuated vaccines, inactivated. Pathogens. Exposes the body to proteins made by a virus or bacteria. Require refrigeration. DNA and RNA vaccines. Use part of the virus' own genes to stimulate an immune response. Deliver the message to the cell to create the desired protein. Can be stored at room temperature. 6.8 Food adulteration. Why in news? More about news. Golden syrup, invert sugar syrup and rice syrup are used for adulteration in honey. Nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy, NMR, trace. Marker for rice, TMR, specific marker for rice syrup test, SMR, C3C4 and oligosaccharides sugar tests. Pass all the adulteration tests. About food adulteration. Adding or mixing of poor quality, inferior, harmful, substandard, useless. Food is declared adulterated if intentional to increase profit and to meet excess demands. What are the impacts of food adulteration? Production and cost. Livelihood. Nutritional value. Human health. Ecology. Challenges of food adulterations. Lack of technology. Poor implementation of law and inspection. Lack of awareness. Further ways to check food adulteration. Surveillance and monitoring. Training. Consumer awareness. S. Use of technology. Creating secure online database. Displaying a smartphone readable code. Consumers could scan this code. 6.9 Srinivasa Ramanujan. Why in news? Marks 100th death anniversary. About Ramanujan. December 22, 1887. Erode, Tamil Nadu. Birth anniversary on December 22 is celebrated as National Mathematics Day. Published several brilliant papers on his subject. With the help of his Professor G. H. Hardy of Trinity College, Cambridge University. Why? London Mathematical Society in 1917. Fellow of the Royal Society for his excellent work on elliptic functions and the theory of number. S. Regulations and steps taken to check food adulteration in India. Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, FSI. It imposes a penalty. Under Food Safety and Standards Act, 2006. Manual Detect Adulteration with Rapid Test, DART, for quick detection of adulterants. Directives on import of golden syrup, invert sugar syrup and rice syrup. Consumer Protection Act, 201. 9. Codex Alimentarius Comissio. N. Harmonist System, HS, COD. E. The first Indian to be elected a Fellow of the Trinity College. Died at the young age of 32. 5-volume book entitled Ramanujan's Lost Notebook. The Man Who Knew Infinity. Movie of the same Name. 2015. Ramanujan's work. Infinite series, continued fractions, number theory, and mathematical analysis. S. Hypergeometric series. The Riemann series, the elliptic integrals, the theory of divergent series, and the functional equations of the zeta function. 1918. Ramanujan. Sum. Signal processing, i.e., analyzing, modifying, and synthesizing periodically repetitive signals such as speech, music, DNA, sequences, etc. Letter to Hardy in 1919. Mach theta. Functions. Used today in string theory and theoretical physics. Modular functions. Reveal properties of black holes by astrophysicists. Hardy Ramanujan number IE 1729.